Jabari, hi. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Juliana. You always bring a smile on my face.
Oh, well, first of all, congratulations. You're on your way, right? You're gonna hopefully win. How is it looking?
It's looking good. There's nobody else in the race right now, so I think we got the general.
That works out. You got it nailed down. How come the right wing isn't throwing a bunch of money at your race to defeat you?
I know, right? Republicans don't even bother running in this part of Brooklyn. They know they'll get 3% of the vote, so I think they just stopped trying.
Great. Well, congratulations to that. I'm very happy to have you on the program, and I look forward to every great thing that you're going to do for the state and, on down into the future. Jabari is a third-generation Caribbean American from Prospect Heights in Brooklyn. If you are just joining us and didn't see him on when we did the panel, he's from that community and knows the struggles there. He spent his life working with and for his neighbors as an activist, an educator, and his experiences as queer, Black, public school teacher, union member, a child of immigrants, exactly the kind of person you want as an elected official, someone who might understand the majority of people in this country in one way or another. Those experiences have shaped his drive to make your community and New York's communities more just and equitable. I'm looking forward to the fact that you're going to be up in Albany soon.
Yeah, I'm excited to get up there, and me, the whole squad of Albany candidates. We're all going. It's a big old socialist squad going up to Albany.
I'm excited about that. What do you think before we get to the real topic here, which is schools reopening across the country, and well, maybe we should get to it, and then at the end we'll see how the New York squad is going to unseat the old regime in Albany. That would be very nice if we actually have a progressive government to reflect the progressive people in New York. That would be great.
Yeah. And I agree.
So schools are reopening across the country, and I noticed that you came together with AOC to set up a workshop on how people can come together and organize community childcare. Let's talk both about why community childcare is needed, what is going on in our communities around childcare, and then how people can maybe, tap into this. I know the actual the workshop already happened, but I think you can still watch it on the internet. So we'll give all that information as well. Talk about the Child Care Collective workshop and why you and AOC and others are focusing on helping people get community childcare together.
Yeah, so thank you, first of all, for asking that, Juliana. I mean, it's so important, right? Childcare, especially for working class parents of color who may not have access to the resources to just, throw $2,000 at a childcare provider and take care of their kids so they can go back to work. You have a lot of working parents who, they're struggling to make ends meet, and they don't have the resources to do that. So what, me and AOC did was we partnered and just, chatted a little bit about schools reopening, or the reason they shouldn't reopen, and use some resources from the Red Sprouts. It's a part of the Democratic Socialists of America that focuses on childcare, for ways to organize.
Sprouts, it's called? Say that again.
Red Sprouts.
Great.
Yeah, red for the socialists, and then Sprouts for the kids. So
Perfect.
No, it's about organizing a collective and how you can meet with local parents in your community to do stuff that's what's known as a time bank. So as opposed to exchanging money or exchanging time, you put in 20 hours of helping out that week, and you get 20 hours of help for your kid or whatever. And it's a communal thing, a way of exchanging resources for people where maybe it's not money they can throw around, but they have time that they can contribute and volunteer to give back to their community. And it's a great way to share, the burden of childcare with each other so that people can get back to work or get along with their day or do what they need to do.
So you have experience in education as an educator, and you're also likmeeting the moment as a soon to be newly elected politician, which is exciting. I'm just saying how exciting it is. Can you talk about your thoughts about this moment and what is happening with the Trump administration's push to open schools?
It's so reckless. It is extremely, extremely reckless. And I've been saying it everywhere. This is just you're putting schools to a double standard right now, where they're the only place I know where you're saying it's okay for hundreds of people to gather inside of a building. It is unsafe, and there's no way getting around not spreading this virus once we begin opening up the schools. And it just shows like the failure of imagination. The push is, open up the schools so the economy can open up again. And it's just going to trigger, bigger spikes. I mean, in New York, we're going to see spikes again. I mean, the rest of a lot of the country is still, being ravaged by COVID-19. And it is a political power play from the Trump administration that I think is going to backfire. And,
doesn't it smell of fascism? I mean, the idea is like, you have to send your kid to school. You have to.
Forcing them to. Yeah,
You're
it's really
parents to send their kids to school.
Yeah, and it's not okay, for lack of a more eloquent way to say it, but it's truly, it's authoritarian and it's unsafe for students, but also for the teachers, the administration, the family members of these students, especially students of color, more likely to live in multi-generational households where they have grandma and grandpa at home, that right there. I mean, that's a health risk right there. It's so scary and so careless.
I thought it was really wonderful to see the fact that political leaders like yourself and like AOC, who's speaking tonight at the DNC, at the virtual DNC, which you can watch on your television, that y'all are hosting community care workshops when so many other developed countries have government provided childcare. Yes. Does this remove pressure off our political leaders to provide for basic needs?
No, I mean, this is a chance to, really advocate it for more. Once people can start to, try and do it for themselves, they can start to see, oh, why can't the government provide this? Why can't, our government actually be doing this? I mean, right now it is filling the gap of the Trump administration, the complete failure of the administration to help out working class families that need this childcare. But no, this is a chance to politically organize and say this is something that should be guaranteed. If we want to have a functioning society, right, rather than forcing everyone to send their kid back to school in an unsafe pandemic, we should be, having money and funding for childcare.
How can we extend this type of model to meet other needs during this difficult time?
We've kind of been doing that. I mean, the mutual aid networks that have sprung up, I can pretty much just speak to New York, not all over the country, but, mutual aid networks have spread up of like helping out with grocery deliveries, medicine deliveries, skill sharing. I was doing a lot of stuff with something called Bed-Stuy Strong. Mm-hmm. It's a mutual aid network in Bedford-Stuyvesant, but people were, again, exchanging time and exchanging skills. And it wasn't about money. It was about what you could bring to the volunteering collective.
How would you suggest people get involved in these communities if they're just hearing about them or if they just, don't know really how to get involved? And I'm really talking about me.
Yeah, there's a thing
What about me? Do you know anything about Connecticut? I've moved.
Crack me up all the time. There is a site that hosts, I think it's called the New York City Mutual Aid Network, which has a suite of all the, because there's one in each neighborhood. And I don't know, there might be one in, wherever you are in Connecticut, the Hartford Mutual Aid Network or the Stanford, I don't know.
The Democratic Socialists of America, who are all across the U.S., they generally have a way to tap in to community action networks.
Bingo.
During the training, you were suggesting that people bring these pod things together. What's the first step in doing it?
I think reaching out to local parents in, your community, there's a agenda and a suggested reading list too that we put together, and if you go to I think ocasio-cortez /childcare, you can see everything. You can see the talk, you can see the training guides, suggested suggestions for how to conduct a childcare collective or your own little sessions. But ideally, you have some kind of parent network, that you already reached, you have, through your child's school. And if not, you can put up flyers around your neighborhood, and that's another way to start connecting with people. That's how other things get set up, whether they're
this whole thing, sorry to cut you off, but this whole thing is so exhausting, I have to say. And I'm just maybe reflecting what's happening with the other parents as well, because we have our hands full working sometimes our full-time jobs and having full-time childcare. If you're watching the show the other day, my daughter came in, got in my lap, and we discussed climate change while she colored on my desk. So, it's that and the pressure of having to keep up with she needs a lunch today and then she needs a dinner later today. And then, reaching out to these collectives or trying to form your own. It's just, I think a lot of people feel like they're just running to keep their heads above water and to reach out into and to be able to do something else. It seems like, maybe I'm talking about me again, but it seems like I'm hearing this from other parents as well. It's just really a stretch to just have to start cold while you're doing 24-hour-a-day childcare.
No, you're totally right. We should have government funded like childcare to assist parents, I mean, who are being asked to do the work of 5 people. I mean, especially now with like, I mean, I tell during this pandemic, you know, parents like still doing their job from home, but also trying to live their life and also take care of their kid and be a teacher from home, you know, the secondary teacher at home, you know, and slash a tutor, slash this, slash that. And it is a lot, and it's a lot to juggle, and it's not fair to parents. And, you know, with this administration just saying, well, we'll just send all the kids back to school, that doesn't really solve, you know, the issue that, you know, we have extremely overburdened parents right now.
I just read a story in the progressive headlines that we do right before this about how the critical care workers don't even have enough PPE, and they're asking, you know, Donald Trump's administration to enact or to, you know, go back and do the thing that they were supposed to do to protect the workers and, you know, enact that Defense Production Act to get that PPE to workers. Why is he is so focused, his administration is so focused on getting kids back to school as opposed to like ramping up things that would make it safe to go back to school? I'm not sure you can explain this to me, but maybe you could.
I know. I wish I could explain what their reasoning is, other than that they want the semblance of normalcy as quick as possible. You know, like
ignoring the coronavirus.
But literally, like that's how it started off, right? Just ignoring it, hoping it would go away, and having it blow up in his face. But like, yeah, no, I mean, you know, the semblance of normalcy. Like, you can't be, you know, ramping up, you know, defense production for PPE. Then that means he's giving over to, he's acknowledging the virus. No, it has to be back to normal, right? The kids are back at school, the parents are back at work, everything is just fine, and then hopefully, in Trump's mind, hopefully everything is good.
People are dying. That's it. Everything's fine. That's considered fine under a racist Trump administration.
Yeah.
Well, let's give people the information they need where they can go and watch the presentation that you guys put together, the community care workshops. Where can people watch those?
It's ocasio-cortez sorry, let me not mess this up. Yeah, ocasio-cortez.com/childcare.
Excellent. And that, you know, even if you're not in her district, this is just like the nuts and bolts. You guys put together how to do this. What are the other issues facing parents right now that we want to make sure get a spotlight before we end our interview?
I mean, you know, depending on your employment situation, and you may be, you know, worried about, you know, whether or not unemployment checks are still coming, or, you know, the stimulus is still coming for working parents. You may be concerned about your rent and whether or not the eviction moratorium is going to be lifted and how that might affect you. And, you know, as consistently, you always may be worried about healthcare and whether or not you have access to healthcare during a pandemic. So, you know, my socialist utopia, you know, these would be government provided, and it wouldn't be tied to your employer, and, you know, you'd have a house guaranteed and healthcare guaranteed, and we'll get there because, you know, we're sending some really dope socialists to Albany next year.
I'm psyched about that, and I'm looking forward to that. And although could you please be the forerunner for the new state I live in? I've said before on this program that the states are probably going to break up, and we're going to have this little blue interstate compact. And maybe if we can get rid of Susan Collins, we'll let Maine in. Yeah, so who knows? Might be the president of the Blue Eastern United States here, talking to you directly. What advice would you give to parents who are struggling with let me go this way. The falling apart of childcare seems like one of the canaries in the coal mines of the falling apart of the entire structure of society that we've come to depend upon. Am I nuts? What are your thoughts? And, you know, yesterday, Michelle Obama said in her speech, which I suggest everyone go and watch, that if you don't think this can get any worse or how worse this can be, you are wrong. And it can get, trust me, it can get much worse. It seems like we're seeing the crumbling of structures that we have relied upon. Sure, all those structures needed to be worked on and made better, but crumbling, did we need that? What are your thoughts to all of that stuff that I just said?
I mean, we need to let parents get back up on their feet, and there needs to be pressure on elected officials. Maybe not even necessarily at the Trump administration, even your local electeds, for some kind of support and or bailout for childcare providers. I know in New York City, people were targeting the city council for funding, and the mayor for funding for childcare, and also targeting like the governor, for helping out child. There's tons of childcare providers for people who also, they would love to work. They would love to, to have some kind of money and take care of people's kids. And like, if that's something people are willing and able to do, like, why not ensure that that can happen? And in the midst of all this happening with coronavirus, we still have billionaires getting richer and richer and richer. I don't know what happened in Connecticut, but in New York, they earned over $70 billion since March. Since the pandemic happened and we were all suffering, they earned over $70 billion. And so there's money there, that can be taxed and can be redistributed to childcare providers and to XYZ that, the working class families need.
That sounds like a good idea, Jabari. Taxing the wealthy and corporations, I'm all for it.
Same.
Oh man, Jabari Brisport, if you're watching the show, you need to follow him. He's a candidate for New York State Senate, running unopposed, and he was on our panel of candidates supported by the Democratic Socialists of America not too long ago. Look back in our archives here at ACT.TV, and you can watch that. Jabari, thank you for being on our show. Follow Jabari at JABARI BRISPORT on the Twitters, and support. We're looking forward to seeing everything you're able to do and support you in your goals there, which are our joint goals as you move to Albany.
Thanks, Juliana.